Whoa, yes, making a video. Spectacularly nice day. Anyway, yeah, very late. Always something. Stupid things too. Yeah, well, whatever. It's not your problem. No point in me going into it, but it's just these little nuisance things to break. Yeah, the whole house is breaking actually, so I gotta fix that. But yeah. Well, anyway, I say I'm not going into it, and I go into it. So anyway, I think I'll do this context thing again, just this argument that, people are just so off the subject. And it really is kind of annoying because, you're just like, come on, let's just deal with the subject. The subject is, we've sort of dissected a lot of this stuff, right? This reductionism that everybody's just so hostile to. But I mean, unfortunately, that's what it is. It's reducible. It's a universe. It's made out of elements, certain number of them. They combine into compounds. We've been through this part. It's such an important context that this is chemistry. All of it. It's just chemistry. It can be understood in a matrix kind of way. If you look for like in the movie The Matrix, they did a lot of this digitizing of things, especially towards the end and of the original one anyway. And so you get a kind of a feel at the end, like, oh yeah, this is all an illusion of perspective. And so we have this illusion of perspective where we live in civilization. Like most of the people in this country right now aren't walking in the woods. Most of them aren't living in this. They're not interacting with this world. But this is the world, right? I mean, they're living in a subsection that's very human-centric, very human cars and buildings and shuffling of paper and computer screens and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the context. This is the closer to the original world. And then the more original world is back in Africa, you could say, and living without clothes and without comforts at all. Even maybe not even a tool, just facing the world as an animal, and trying to find a way to survive, and worried that right over there might be a tiger, and so that's the origins of our chemistry. And then you take that chemistry back a little ways, and we were a four-legged animal, or four-handed, and leaping through the trees, to find a way to escape the dangers of the ground. Lots of food up there in the trees sometimes, so you could spend a life up there, out of harm's way. And before that, we were some other kind of beastie that did crawl on the ground, and I had to eke out another kind of life with a different set of predators. And you go all the way back to the dinosaurs, and our ancestor, the thing we came from, was eking out a living in that swampy, world, very dangerous world. Probably had a much thicker skin and a much this and a much that and all that stuff. And so you just keep going back and you get to this blobs of chemistry, this blobs of structure, the bark and this and that, and they're almost separate organisms that you can see the organs of the organism. The organs are almost distinct animals. The colony kind of life that was our predecessor, and they're the organisms. So many of them are just represented as if they're just different colonies, forced into servitude towards each other. The liver colony and the stomach colony and the digestive tract and the kidney colony, all the colonies of cells that have been encapsulated and forced to serve the master body, but it's all just this chemical mechanism. And so here we are on top of it through this billions of years of evolution. And the truth of our circumstances is that life doesn't do what we're doing. We're the only living thing doing what we're doing. In terms of living so much in our in an informed imagination, where the other mammals are living in their imagination. They're definitely daydreaming. They definitely dream. They think about things, probably imagine things, fantasize about things. But their scenarios are so limited, and our scenarios include E equals MC squared, and do unto others as you have others do unto you, or whatever the thing is. We have all these ideas to mix into our imaginings, our playing out of our lives. And this is just another biological mechanism, another trick of the chemistry to maintain the chemistry, to keep the body moving, keep it in the game. So anyway, yeah, so I mean, but the real context is just this chemistry. That's all. It's just this flow of chemistry, of compounds, and their mixture, and this one compound that replicated. Just one. And there was just one compound that, in our history, one cell, as far as we know, only one microbe, acquired the capacity to encapsulate other nucleuses inside of itself, other cells inside of itself, to enslave them. And so began a whole different level of organisms, and in terms of what was possible evolutionarily. Whoa, that was not good for my toe. But there could be lots of these very rare events that we're built out of. That this isn't, I mean, we get spoiled because we're here. We've won the lottery, and winning always seems easy when you've won. You can just go back and say, yeah, well, I did this, this, and this. I practiced, and I did that. And so when you win, it's hard to sometimes appreciate it as meaning much because it seems easy. And when you win something as ambiguous, just some sort of lottery, it's, well, I won, I'm human. I live in North America. Yeah, it was really easy to do. I didn't even have to try to do it. I live in America. I was born in America. Yeah, well, I did it. It was really easy. You get kind of spoiled and think this is the way it works. And it's not the way it works. Not for most biological life on Earth. It doesn't work that way. Whatever liabilities and privileges that come don't come often for most living things. There's a huge pile of life that lives for each human that ponders his existence. There's truckloads and truckloads and truckloads of biomass, consciousnesses that have to live and die for that one human being to sit there and ponder how spectacular he is. How I've won again. And it was easy. So it's, this perspective is everything here. The truth is important. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to, is this is the truth of the reality. UFOs, gods, spiritual mumbo jumbo, special energy communication. I predicted their plane would crash. I predicted, all this superpower mumbo jumbo that people have aggrandized themselves with in terms of making everything seem more special and important and interesting. It's just that. They're just manifestations of psychology. They're just traps of coincidence and other things that have distorted perspective. So you believe in something that doesn't exist. You know, doesn't. It's not the reality. It's not the truth. The truth is a universe full of energy, you know, manifesting through different forms, in a rather, the only way it can, in a rather mechanical way. That's what it does. It's mechanical. It's process. It's not special process. It's not magic process. Let's see how else to. I mean, I don't want to have to get into stupid arguments about why there's no astrology, why there's no all these magic shit, because obviously it didn't exist for the millions, billions of years animals have been squirming about. There was no special knowledge being received. And how come it's only the self-important humans, you know, that draw these conclusions that seem concerned with these perspectives? You know, the trilobites weren't wondering when the aliens are going to come to visit. You know, whether they bring presents or not. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So it's, you know, it's this whole perspective thing. You know, getting higher and higher, getting above it all, and seeing how all the little ants move about, and we're sort of easily metaphored to these other biological organisms trapped in routines. We have these routines of culture, and the common routine of human culture has been to come up with some sort of aggrandizing theory of purpose and function and pursuit, you know, provide reason and justification. I guess I would argue that in the evolution of our knowledge, there is a critical mass. There is a point where, you know, things have to change, and that delusionary thinking of the past has sort of been derailed by recognition of evolution. It's a big fact, and it takes a lot of stuff off the table. It just wipes a big hunk of that crap off, and you know, the more knowledge we gain about the reality of our bastard origins, I've used those words before, of our impure creation, the more we can look in the mirror and see the Frankenstein, see that we're not some sort of magnificent thing, that we are just another manifestation of chemistry that's had a brain imposed. This one does the sentient logic reaction, which creates potential to do very fancy dances, very fancy chases, and very fancy retreats, very fancy ways of life. But that's all it is. It's just an elaborate dance. It's not a better dance, and it's not a more functional or purposeful. It's just another feeding machine, feeding only because a molecule replicated, you know, 4 billion years ago. And we're just the echo of that replication. And yes, it's just, even though it's incredible, it's not, it startles one's perception to think about 4 billion years, and to think about the fact that my bloodline, every one of my ancestors, played the game and won sufficiently to create prodigy. And that's how I'm here. And that's sort of stunning, but we know that somebody was going to win the gold medal. So now it's like the inverse. People seem, you know, They seem over-impressed by some common, inevitable circumstance, and then under-impressed by the difficulty and impossibility of a very similar circumstance. Yeah, so I mean, it's sort of like, well, there's no point going into Dawkins titles, because then I'll just get into a Dawkins rant. But this idea of the improbability, but at the same time, with that improbability comes a kind of dysfunctionality, and a lack of more chance for error, more chance for a waywardness, going the wrong way. And I think what's happening now is we're becoming intelligent enough to recognize all of that and to accept the limitations of the game we're playing, which is just a game of chase. There'll be no acquisition. You'll never catch it, and such. Anyway, it is New Railroad Tie Day. Get my weapon of choice. Solves everything. Yeah. Be nice if we could legally take this to the world and clean up the messes. But anyway, so till next time, and such, and so forth. The ground is very hard. I'll have to beat it into submission. Anyway, till next time. Yeah, I'll add a little bit on, I guess. I was thinking I really wanted to get to just the idea of the replicating chemistry thing, because it's just so important. As a mechanical function. So you have all this chemistry in the universe that does all kinds of interesting things, right? You could say you have glow-in-the-dark chemistry, or, burning chemistry, fire, lots of different kinds of bizarre reactions, magnetism. It's a sort of a chemistry. You have to reduce it to physics, I suppose, but there's chemistry involved. Well, it's all physics, and chemistry is a subset of physics, and biology is a subset of chemistry. So, I guess, never mind. I'm going to waste time thinking about how exactly would you qualify that phenomenon. But anyway, it does seem elementary, therefore probably physics. Anyway, so what was I? Yeah, so you have all this different kind of stuff that happens to chemistry. It can do interesting things. Certain compounds can float on other compounds and do this and do that. And here you have this weird compound, this DNA molecule. And there's not a whole bunch of other molecules like it. I don't know how many double helix, style molecules there are, but it is weird in terms of its structure. But there are even stranger chemical compound structures, perfect spheres and soccer ball shaped things, multi-hadrony whatever things. So there's lots of weird chemistry. But this one compound, I suppose there could be other ways that you could store information on a piece of chemistry. But this idea of an almost endless linear chain does seem like, it's got to be that. You got to have a chain. You got to have a long string, because these circular kind of things aren't going to work too well. I suppose you could wrap some chemistry into a ball, but it'd still be a string you wrapped into a ball. But there isn't a whole lot of other shapes that you could imagine could contain enough information as a chain of indeterminate length, like the DNA molecule. I mean, there's probably some constraints on how long a particular molecule can get, but it does seem like there's not too much of a limitation. It just guys folding it is the tricky part. But anyway, that's a whole nother pile of crap. Where was I? Yeah, so this replicating thing is, so it's just the phenomenon of first you have to create this replicating molecule, but this molecule that you can cut in half and get two reciprocal pieces that will recombine through affinity, through attraction, reabsorb the missing links to the chains you break off. That it always tends to reform itself. Tends these chemicals, these bases or whatever, amino acids and bases, tend to find a way not to get flawed or broken by intruding chemistry. But that might be part of much further down the line kind of evolution. And in the world the first cell existed in, it probably wasn't that complicated. But I guess that's part of it. It's going back through the chemistry to what qualifies as the first life form, and how much chemical evolution had to take place before you had something that would be called a life form. You had to have all the components, and the components had to combine. They had to be within association with each other. The DNA molecule can't do it all. It needs other chemistry to, split it apart and effectively, I think, remold it. If it doesn't have that chemistry, it's not going to be able to be very rich in information because of all the errors that be created by other compounds messing up, the environment, polluting the page, putting dirt on the book, or however you want to look at it. So anyway, I'm just kind of, I thought I had a theme here, and I really don't, so I guess I'll let it go. But I mean, this is like the core thing. This is what we are. This is our God. And what does that mean? To be, the product of, the byproduct of, just a bunch of chemistry that smashes together, and without purpose or cause, and without purpose or intent or design or mission, just from elementary properties, makes has it happen that it replicates itself and begins a process of evolution that has such strange potential to unleash all kinds of horror. Very bizarre. Little baby hawk kind of bird. Anything else stomping around here somewhere? I don't see anything. Elephant. Nope. Anyway. I just got very tired. I had to take a mega dose of penicillin for the stupid tick bite. But anyway, that helped me for one day, hopefully. Until next time, and such. Ow. And so forth. Sorry. Kind of a junky ending. See if there's anything I can redeem this with. Yeah, I really like it. I like the sun coming in sideways. Yes, it's a nice, I mean, lighting is so strange, you know, the different lighting, what it does. Completely different atmosphere, depending on the direction of the light. Ooh, this sounds like a Fred video. Anyway, till next time. And so forth and whatnot.